If we took away everything you've ever accomplished and everything you've ever had, who would you be and would you still love that person? Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to the first video of my self-love series. Today I'm going to be talking about what self-love means to me and what I've done so far on my journey in order to come this far and be confident and love who I am, as well as continue to grow every single day. When I first started my self-love journey, I was super unhappy with where I was going in life and who I was becoming. And I found myself in continuously bad and toxic, unhealthy relationships that really just didn't serve me very well and just made me unhappy. And to a certain extent, I knew that it wasn't the other person. I knew that there were so many things that I could work on, but I just didn't know what the answer was. The number one thing that you should keep in mind is that there's no guide to self-love. A lot of people ask oh, what am I supposed to do? You just start somewhere, pick one place and you just start. And I'm just gonna list a few things that I've done so far so that you can probably pick from this and just be like, hey, I'm gonna do this and work on this first, and you eventually start to get it. I think a lot of people think of, when they're doing self-love, they're buying stuff for themselves, they're taking time to watch Netflix, etc. And that does come with it, but I think the main part about self-love is learning to be compassionate with yourself, learning to show yourself the respect, and also respecting yourself and loving yourself for who you are in this very moment. The amazing part about the self-love journey is that it is continuous and everybody's journey is different, which is why it's so great to hear about everyone else's stories and then kind of apply it to yourself in your own way. When you love yourself, you're radiating from the core this true love that you can bring and spread to other people. And there's a personal responsibility to taking care of yourself and making sure that you are okay and that you're bringing the best version of who you are to people on a daily basis. There are two things that I did for myself that helped me heal my trauma as well as be more emotionally intelligent with myself. The first one is I started journaling in the beginning because I wasn't comfortable talking about my stuff and I didn't feel like another person was going to understand what I was going through. So I started off with journaling and I was like, you know what, this piece of paper is not going to judge me. And I just wrote down everything and anything that came to mind that hurt me in the past. There are times where I felt lonely or jealous of other people. And that's a negative emotion, right? And it's really uncomfortable being like, that's okay that I felt that. And I can now move on from it. Another tip with journaling is that there is no one right way to journal. A lot of people, when they start out journaling, they're like, okay, I gotta write this date and then I gotta make it all cute and then be like, okay, today I did this, today I did that. Sometimes I just go into it being like, okay, so I'm gonna write about this. I don't feel like doing journaling right now, but I'm gonna do it because it's good for me. And you just keep embracing it. Figure out a way that you want to journal. There is no right way to journal. The journal's not judging you. The journal's not being graded or whatever. So just do what you can with this journal and just make it your own. A lot of people aren't really into journaling because it can hurt your hand or whatever. It might seem like a lot of work. So I could also suggest video diary where you just talk things out with yourself, and that helps you process your thoughts and your emotions a lot better. And that's why therapy is great, because you start to process things in a different way and understand yourself better when you're saying things out loud. Once I healed my trauma and understood myself a lot more, I was like, okay, I'm capable of doing certain things. Because when you're healing your trauma, you're removing a lot of beliefs that you have about yourself, which might be like, oh, I'm not good enough for this, I'm not good enough for that. But once I was able to identify that stuff within me, I could then create a mindset change that was more positive and helped me move forward in life. I've actually tried to start a YouTube channel 2 times before this, and I just never thought I was good enough. I never thought I was worthy enough to sit in front of a camera and just talk about things. But here I am, and this is proof of how far I've come so far. You're not gonna wake up one day and just be like, I'm gonna do it, and then you just continue to do things and do things well and do things great the first time you do it. But the whole point of this mindset change and choosing the growth mindset is knowing that, hey, if I do the little steps each and every day, eventually I will get there and you're gonna start feeling the changes, which is exactly what you want. Like, you want to start feeling like you can change, and then it'll be like a snowball effect where you're just like constantly like, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I'm gonna do everything. Like, you want to try everything now because you believe in who you are and just like being able to like learn and become a new person. Try new things and do the little steps and cheer yourself on along the way, because the more you do it, the more you're going to be like, oh, I'm capable of doing things. And the goal with that is to like not put yourself down when you're trying out new things, which is a huge part of the growth mindset. And then the second thing is just to know that like sometimes you're gonna mess up, and that's okay. I like to use the sports analogies when it comes to the growth mindset, because a lot of people play sports. And so I play volleyball, and the one thing that I always think back to when it comes to the growth mindset is how far I've come in terms of my skills. When I first started out, I was like, okay, I can pass, I can do the bare minimum, I could set, I could maybe serve a little bit. Like, sometimes they would go over the net, sometimes they wouldn't, and they'd usually be really like high, easy serves. It just takes your brain like constant reps and practices to keep going and to learn and get things and be good at certain things. And I applied that to volleyball and like everything else in my life. Eventually, the more I practiced, the more my brain was just able to like automatically go into this, like, you know, I can just pass the ball easily now. And that applies to everything else that you're doing, that you're trying out. When I first started going out to the gym, I was terrified because I was just like, I don't know how to use these machines. I'm afraid of looking stupid. But eventually, shout out to my brother. He basically was my personal trainer for like the first month or whatever. And he taught me how to get into the gym and just like create a plan for myself. I started seeing myself in a different light, where I was like, oh, I can be a gym girl and I can be really strong. And that was like the goal, right? To be stronger for my body. And that really changed my mindset on what I was capable of with everything, because I was starting from scratch at the gym. I eventually was able to like get to a point where I felt super comfortable just going and like doing a workout, and seeing myself do that, I was like cheering myself on and stuff, and also just was proof that the growth mindset works. So one exercise that I really like to do with the growth mindset and having a mindset change is sitting down and being really real with yourself about your own insecurities. It's gonna be so uncomfortable, I know, like I feel like this entire self-love journey is uncomfortable, but once you pass that threshold, you're gonna love being uncomfortable. But this exercise is basically you sit down and you're like, okay, who do I want to be? What are my insecurities and what can I do about it? With the physical ones, obviously you're not gonna be able to like change that very much unless you're planning to like go get surgery, but we're focusing more on you and your characteristics. So now that you've had your list of insecurities, then you can be like, okay, well, why do I want to fix this insecurity? Like, why does this make me insecure? And what can I do to, I guess, be the opposite of that? So for example, one thing that I was insecure about, which is tied to the gym, is my body. And the reason why was because I grew up my entire life thinking that I was bigger than everybody else. In order to address this insecurity, I started going to the gym. I started working out. Some people might be something small where it might be like, oh, I want to manage my time better. So you start finding solutions to how to manage your time better. And you're just going to practice different things. Like, you're not going to get it the first time, you know, like the first few months I started going to the gym, I was like, I look the same. But eventually you realize like, oh, I'm making these little changes, and you're going to be proud of yourself. And you have to be your own like inner cheerleader throughout this entire thing, because you're with yourself all the time. I was changing drastically, and that is very uncomfortable for some people. I was a people pleaser, so I also had to really reevaluate a lot of the relationships that I had in my life, and that was also another hard thing, to learn to let go of those who really weren't serving me. Like, some people drained me a lot, some people just didn't understand the journey that I was going on, but then I was also surrounded by so many friends and my siblings who were just constantly cheering me on, and that's what you're gonna need, like on days where you're just not feeling it, where you still don't love yourself. Like, you're gonna turn to your friends and be like, hey, you know, I need a reminder. It makes the journey a lot easier. And I know there are people who start out there and they're like, I feel disconnected from all my friends. Like, nobody wants to talk to me, like no one's like me. But if you just reach out sometimes and just be like, hey, this is an issue that I'm having, it gets a lot easier. Like, I always thought that some of my friends didn't understand what I was going through, But when I talked to them one-on-one and I was like, hey, this is stuff that I've been struggling with my entire life, you'd be surprised at how many people are actually like, oh, me too. Like, I'm working on that too. So don't shut yourself out to the world, like open up to people, and you're probably gonna get some rejections and some people because they won't know how to handle these conversations. But then every once in a while, you're gonna get a gem of like someone you meet on the street or like just your friend that you haven't talked to in a while, and they're gonna be like, yes, like I love this. I love what you're doing. I love that you're loving yourself, and they're gonna support you. That is all I have for today's video. If you liked what I said so far, please give this video a like and leave a comment on something that you wanna work on in your self-love journey.